Kiss 100.
Let's go. Yeah, baby, come.
You're listening to Tayo. Kiss 100.
Trade up the control, international control and choke the world. Universal field marshal with no partial, who play the white selection without objection.
Welcome back to Sound of Kiss 100. You dread at the controls, Tayo, between the hours of 2 and 4. And a very special guest, at least it is for me, Kurtis Mantronik. How are you?
I'm alright.
I'm glad you're alright. I gotta say, I'm very pleased that you're here. So if I start gushing, then just deal with it, yeah? You're here for a reason. Tell us why, for instance, for example, why you're in England.
Well, partly due to promoting a new album, compilation, actually, on Soul Jazz Records. And basically the album is it's a collection of songs that I used to listen to that influenced me back in the early 80s in New York City. And this is a lot of the stuff that the DJs were playing back then, an eclectic assortment of music.
The kind of show this is, normally it's kind of, what we call it, it's a breakbeat show, more up-tempo kind of stuff, but one of the reasons why I wanted to get you in, because I think people should know. Okay. So in the background you can hear Ryuki Sakamoto, I think that's how you say it.
I think it's Ryuichi, but
Ryuichi.
Close enough.
Alright then, that's why you're here, tell me when I'm wrong. This is the sound of Riot in Lagos. We'll be speaking more to Kurtis in a sec. Sound of Riot in Lagos off the forthcoming Mantronik's That's My Beats compilation on Soul Jazz Records. Tell us a little bit about this track. Why did you put it on?
Well, this was a key track for me because when I had first gotten to New York, I mean, what they were basically playing on the radio station was disco and R&B/disco or disco R&B. And this is something that just cut through all of that and was just a little bit different. The beat was kind of funky and it was ahead of its time. And I just kind of gravitated towards it, and that's why I wanted to include it.
When I was doing my homework before this show, whoever, one of the many fans on the internet was saying how you sort of didn't want to use regular samples when you started recording. Mm-hmm. You were messing around with a lot of technology and stuff, a bit like this track. Mm-hmm. Was it an influence to you for when you started making your own stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was curious about the sounds of production. Also remember that, you know, this is back in early or late 83, 84 when I started actually playing with electronics and machines, and I wasn't trained I'm not a trained musician, so a lot of the stuff I kind of learned on my own, and I figured out a lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff I created from scratch. Another group that was a big influence to me was also Kraftwerk, and also Art of Noise. But the complete opposite of that was the whole disco element, the whole get up and dance, roller skating scene, and then the other variant of all of this is hip hop, all kind of like hitting me at once. And my background before that, musical background, was rock and roll because I lived in Canada.
All right.
So I had all of this stuff that sounded fantastic to me. I gave up on the rock a long time ago, but when I got to New York, but hearing the disco, hip hop, and the Ryuichi Sakamoto track, that was considered techno in those days. And so having all these different elements of different types of music coming at me, I just couldn't resist. And I think that's how the sound of Mantronics was developed, came about.
And sorry to do this to you, we were talking about this before the show. In the background, this is the sound of Mantronics, very early Mantronics. Tell us a little bit about this track before we get started.
That track is kind of interesting because it was done with which I think later on, years and years down the road, became very popular in this country and in different parts of Europe. The machine that I used was a Roland TB303 bassline, and that became the so-called acid, or whatever you want to call it. But I'd use that machine I'd come up with a cool bassline on the machine, and I put a beat to it, and we called it bassline because it was really a bass that I had. A part that I had originally, and then I added a beat, added a rap, and there you go. We've got bassline.
People, we know we've got people out there who might not know this track. It's one of my favourites. Indulge me if you will. This is Kiss 100, special guest Mantronics in the studio. This is the sound of bassline. Check it out.
People, most American and Latin, can hit the tree top with the sweet scream up, and yes, the old rhyme sound so don't you dare stop with that beat. Make you wanna freak, come on, a part of people, cause it's so unique, cause it's the beat of two, programmed by few, what's started by a couple of brothers, that's two, made for ease, designed to tease, can make the guy say, maybe why the girls cry, please, I don't you let it tease, cause for you I'll be true, I'll never tease.
Heavy. I think the thing that's getting me excited about this track, apart from taking me back to when I was in the Glow Rock crew, but we won't bother about that. 8-year-olds breakdancing, you should have seen it, it was wicked. Is that the production even now? I mean, this is the mid-80s and it's heavy, it's just the heaviest it sounds as fat as anything coming out now. So I'm just getting up on you and telling you that I'm in it.
Yeah.
And you came over and performed this track in front of screaming hundreds, thousands. And I remember when we got on the stage first, the place was going mad because we had a track previous to this, which was Ladies. We've got that one coming up.
And when this thing came on, the place just went ballistic. I'd never seen response like that until years later, and I'll tell you about that.
You've been heavily sampled, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it appears that way.
Do you know about a lot of them?
Well, a nice gentleman in, I think it's Sweden. I'm not sure what country, has managed to put together a massive list of people that have sampled me and actual what samples they have used. It's pretty huge. And listen, I don't mind being sampled as long as, I'm paid. And
sure.
that's part of the issue now that I'm dealing with my publishing company in the States.
Oh, well, there's a huge track by by some friends of ours here who took that bass line, and there's a massive rave track back in the early 90s. You've probably heard it, but just in case you haven't.
Maybe. Like I said, there's a tremendous list, and I remember James Brown making a comment. I think he said it, or someone said it on his behalf, that he was probably the most sampled. I don't think so anymore. I mean, you've got to see this list. Things I had no idea, people. I mean, you've got Beck, you've got Snap, the list is huge. So, anywho.
You're not too bothered about it. Like I say, as long as you know about it, as long as you get paid.
As long as I get paid, and as long as EMI Music Publishing in the States, that's supposed to take care of my business, does their job, then we have no problems. But we've got problems now, so that's another issue.
Fair enough. What you're hearing in the background, people, is the sound of Yellow. What track is this? Tell us about it.
This is another one of those, what we called back then techno tracks, which this particular disco station in New York would play. And this was also a big track in the discos, especially one in particular called the Funhouse, which Jelly Bean Benitez used to be the DJ.
He produced, did he produce it in the Groove for Madonna?
Yeah. Was it Into the Groove?
Or Holiday?
You know what?
One of those ones. That sound he did was Dog a Donut, and with tracks like that. Check that one as well.
Yeah. So I would go to the club and hear this record, and it was just a different time, a different era, and it was exciting and a creative time for me, anyways. And I think a little of that is lacking today.
And what's the name of the track?
Bostage.
Another one off the That's My Beats album, forthcoming on Soul Jazz Records. Check it out. The sound of Kiss 100.
Please come on, I know you're gonna keep the beat. You gotta dance with me and me no feet. I wanna see you dance, you gotta follow me. Please don't let me alone. Make up your mind, I'm not the kind of scout I used to know. Nesta. Everybody, pizza the machine every day for all my life. I used to do it and I needed it. It's the only thing I want is just to rush, push, cash. Standing at the machine every day for all my life. I used to do it and I needed it. It's the only thing I want is just to rush, push, cash. Standing at the machine every day for all my life. I used to do it and I needed it. It's the only thing I want is just to rush, push, cash.
You've just been telling me something quite interesting.
Okay.
You got some new tracks coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Under what names and for what labels and for what kind of tracks?
Dance tracks coming out. Got 2 tracks signed to Distinctive under the name Harry's Afro Hut.
Cool.
Got another track on Defected. Gonna finish that up soon under the name The Grand, G-R-A-N-D Kids. And there's another track that's also in the process of a deal called 77 Strings, and the artist's name is Chamonix, or you could say Chamonix.
So I'm asking you about that because something that listeners on this show will know about was a mix for Future Sound of London that you did called We Have Explosives a couple of years ago. Right. So you got your claws into the breakbeat sound that we know about now here in London.
Listen, that's that particular record was the first remix I had done after a hiatus of 5 years, and it was enjoyable. I mean, I hear that mix, that version in New York sometimes at some of the clubs that play electronic and drum and bass and things like that.
So you got some unreleased stuff hidden away somewhere, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's all coming. Yeah,
well, it's all coming. Well, I'll slip you my card afterwards.
All right, no problem.
And then we can see what we can do. Right. Look out for some Mantronik stuff on Mob Records if I get my way before the end of the show. In the background, the super heavyweight sound of Kiss 100. You're listening to. This is probably your most famous track, isn't it?
The most
famous track, well, up till of these kind of tracks,
of these kind of tracks. Yeah, this is the one that kind of started things in this country for me. This didn't do much in the States. I never understood it because this album actually derived from the first single in America, which was big. It was a song called Fresh Is the Word. And then I wanted to do something a little bit different, and then all of a sudden we get a call from I think Virgin 10 Records at the time, saying this thing is like blowing up on the dance floor, and this is
it. This is Ladies. Check the production, check the style. Kiss 100, Ladies, Mantronics.
Pretty girl, you know I need to hold you. Let me whisper in your ear, let my rap unfold you. Take you through the darkest night, without a doubt or pause. Cause every night I think of you with love. love is the only cause. Think of once again with the girl on the date. It's yours to acknowledge, not just to create. An evening well remembered and hopefully great. So if you're superstitious, just call it fate. Cause I believe in magic all around the clock. Well, like the mouse in a story, Hick Dickory Dock. It brings me to the story of me and you, or any fly girl that knows it's true. It really doesn't matter if I'm fast or slow. It's just my approach that I use to show that I'm capable of making the night any which way possible, loose or tight. Take it to the point where you can call it extreme, or like a space place satellite projecting the beam straight to the earth like an arrow from a cupid. The evening will be wild, but I promise never stupid. Silly in a sense, cause I like to have fun. When I'm all about singing, baby, I have a gun. Cause I'm a guy with a cause that means to be yours, and to see what hidden talent is within those jaws. So come on, fly girl, this night is for you. Well, let me know right now what you plan to do. Cause if you're feeling sexy or a little X-rated, let the T's do you right, and I swear you won't hate it.
I'm sure there's a beat in there that I like, but I'll ask you about it before I go anywhere near it when I get home. Right. Sound of Mantronik's Ladies. How much longer are you in the UK for?
Well, I was actually supposed to get a flight out tomorrow, and then I have decided that I'm going to stay here for a while.
You're liking it?
Oh yeah. Well, I've been coming to this country for a long time. This is like my second home, and since things in New York are kind of quiet creatively, this is the place to be.
And tell us about the gig that you did last week.
That was at Bagley's. I think last number I heard was like 900 or something people. That went off. That was like off the hook. I was able to play R&B, hip hop, and I even threw in The Clash, Rock the Casbah, and the place went nuts. I mean, it was a great time. So what can I say? I don't want to go back to New York.
Sure, I'm sure Soul Jazz will want to get you back. This is another track off the album, another one more for our kind of listeners on the show, something a little bit more electronic. Tell us about it. What is it?
Art of Noise, beatbox.
And tell us about this track, what it means to you.
What it means to me was, all of a sudden, here comes this dynamic sounding record that sounded at the time bigger than anything I'd ever heard before. And I said, wow, I'd like to do something like this. And props to Art of Noise and Trevor Horn. And great production, great mix. And I guess the record speaks for itself.
It's a shame because I'm sure they're more wicked than I know, but I just remember Max Headroom, you know? There's a video over here when I was about, 10 or something?
Yeah, we had that on TV in the States also for a little while.
It kind of made it a bit of a comedy thing for me, but this is showing that they knew what they were talking about. Art of Noise, Kiss 100. just tuned in, nah, you're not in the wrong place. Just a little breakbeat history lesson. Alongside the dread at the controls, we've got the legendary Kurtis Mantronik. Are you still here, Curtis?
Right here, baby.
And in the background, the sound of Art of Noise. You were telling me about this off air, saying what kind of impact it made when you first heard it.
Well, the first time I heard it was in the Roxy Disco, which was considered, well, I don't know if it was considered, but it was a massive place, held about 4,000 people. That's where Africa Islam, Bambaataa, you had break beats, you had breakdancing, you had everything happening at once. And I think it was Africa Islam. One night, his DJ set his turntables and everything in the middle of the floor. The sound system in the club is just the subwoofers are the size of like the studio we're in now. And when he released this record, it was just overpowering. Nobody knew what it was, and he had 2 copies of it, and he was going back and forth over the beat in the beginning, and it was killer. It was awesome. And for that time, and you had, and you'd look and you'd see the breakers going off, and then you had MCs coming up live, and in a sea of 4,000 people, it was something to behold.
Is there anything that you're hearing now, any modern stuff that's blowing you away? I say modern stuff, I keep on thinking as if you've only just stepped out of the 80s to come into my studio. So
well I kind of did.
So excuse me for that. Is there anything that you've heard while you've been over in the UK that's making you think, I want to go back and have a little go at that?
Not yet. And I haven't heard that much. So I know there's stuff there. People here are very creative, the musicians, and they do take a lot of chances, and I respect that. Just that I haven't been to places, or I have not heard everything yet. But I'm slowly but surely, listening to everything. I will tell you what I have heard, which is more the commercial side of things, is the club-oriented stuff. And some of it is really cool and funky. And then there's some of it is just a waste of time. The majority of it is, and just being honest.
It's always the way.
Yeah, and I hear like some beats and some stuff here and there from a distance, but I'm not sure what they are, because a lot of like break beats and things like that, there are no lyrics, and you're not gonna know about it once it's passed. Right.
Well, we'll hit you off with a little party pack before you go for 2 reasons. A, so you can go away and show us how it's done, and then put it out on my label.
Okay.
But B, because we just want you to know what we're about, in the same way I want the listeners to know what Mantronics is about. I've got to say thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope I haven't been gushing too much.
Nah, you've been cool, man.
The sound of Kiss 100. It's Friday night. We're with you till 4. We're just signing off the sound of Mantronics in the studio. Stick around, this is still Kiss 100.
International control and show up the world. Universal field marshal who no partial, who play dubwise selection without objection.
he's gone now, I can calm down. The man's a damn legend. Back up to date, the sound of Raw Soul, Oh Baby. Remixed by Quinn, Curb Crawler, Wally. Stick around, we're still with you till 4 o'clock. The champion sound of Kiss 100. History lesson over. It's back to basics.
Without objection.
Smoke machine.
Marshall who played the boy selection without objection.
In the background, the sound of Blim and Chris Carter, No Driving, forthcoming on TCR. Thanks to Rennie Pilgrim for sending that one through. Before that, you know the one, the Smoke Machine, Express 2. Bootleg Breaks mix, hopefully forthcoming on Skint. Before that, you heard Bounce, Uber Zone. Blim and Rennie Pilgrim on the mix. My super heavyweight track at the moment, Cum Shot. Yeah, that's what it's called. Meet Katie. Forthcoming on King Size Records. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying with us on this very special show. Little history lesson from Kurtis Mantronik. Next week, I think it's next week, we got Freak Nasty in. Talking about his forthcoming Y4K album. We've also got Aqua Sky lined up. And also the mighty Smith and Mighty also coming into the studio over the next month. Stick around, this is the super heavyweight sound of Kiss 100. Thanks for joining us. Come on you Reds down in Cardiff. Until next week, I'll see you then. Take care.